Start, we're going to kind of go through what we have prepped over here. Hopefully you guys had access to the ingredient list that I had assembled for Amanda and Pat. But we have some chopped Spanish onion. You can obviously use red if that's what you have. We've got some fresh green bell pepper. We have yellow bell pepper. We have canned black beans. You could also use dried if that's more your style. I like to go with the easy route. And then we have diced tomatoes. We've got some cilantro and also some parsley. I included the parsley because there are people with very strong opinions about cilantro, so I wanted to give you another option. And then we have some lime zest, some scallions, some fresh lime juice. I did add, and this was not on your original list, some oregano. There's a tablespoon, 2 teaspoons of chili powder, and 2 teaspoons of cumin. Okay. Also on that ingredient list, I had mentioned that if you had taco seasoning or enchilada sauce, those are great shortcuts as well. These just happen to be 2 of my favorite brands because they don't have a ton of added junk in them on the ingredients. You can also use a can of Rotel tomatoes instead of the diced. The Rotel already have some seasoning in them. And if you're at all familiar with queso, you will know what these are. Hopefully you guys have pre-prepped your tofu if you're thinking about participating. This is a block of tofu which was frozen and then pressed underneath 2 of my cast iron pans on top of paper towel so that it doesn't have a lot of moisture content left in it. It makes it a lot denser and gives it a very different texture than what you experience if you've ever had it in miso soup or, you know, in any type of a silken form. I also have over here 3 cloves of garlic, which I'm just going to chop quickly, and then we will get going. So we're just going to chop this up. You can chop it up however you like it. You can press it in a garlic press. I'm just kind of slicing it and then cutting it a little bit crosswise. Just like that. It's a pretty rough chop. I have a nonstick pan. You can use any type of pan really for tofu. You're just going to want to adjust your heat so that it doesn't stick too much. We're going to give this a generous pour of olive oil. Don't skimp. It's not worth it. It's a giant sponge you're about to put in here, so it makes more sense to be pretty heavy with it. And then we're going to start with our garlic. I'm cursed by an electric stove, so if you're on gas, you may get a couple steps ahead of us. But we'll all wind up in the same place, I'm sure. So we just want to wait till that starts to get a little bit flavorful, and then we're going to add in our onion and our green bell pepper. I'll confess, I don't ever set up all my ingredients like this. It's kind of a joy to go ahead and do it in advance. Normally I'm scurrying around and my pan is smoking because I don't have everything ready to go. This is very relaxed this evening. I'm not sure what to do. I'm going to throw a little bit of coarse black pepper in here, just because why not? You can never go wrong with black pepper. And don't know where it was. And again, we'll just do about the same thing with some kosher salts. Starting to smell good. That's how it's outside. I was just going to say. You get to be my taster, Mr. Cameraman, so make sure it came out as well as I hope.
What's in with the onions?
There is chopped green pepper, just green bell pepper, and then a little bit of chopped garlic. I used about 3 cloves, and then olive oil, kosher salt, and black pepper.
Okay. And Julianne is asking about the calorie count.
Oh, the calorie count. I may have to do some inputting to figure that out, but I'm happy to do so. So far, I'd say pretty minimal because you got all veggies so far.
Okay.
All right, we're going to add our yellow bell pepper. We're about to get to the fun part. So with your tofu, if you have frozen it and then pressed it, you're literally just going to pick up the block and crumble it in your hands. If all you did was press it, you can either dice it or you can also crumble it in your hands, but it will not have as coarse a texture as this will. You can kind of see how it changes when it's been frozen. Looks a little bit more like a cheese curd. So this is actually a fun project if you like to cook with your kids. They love to put their hands in food. Just make them wash them first. So I'm going to go ahead and use the whole block just because we got a big pan here, we may as well. And then once it's in here, don't burn your fingers, obviously, but if there's any really large pieces, just try to get them broken up a little bit more.
Reed, I just checked and it says that tofu has 20 calories per ounce.
There you go. So I think this is a
low-cal meal.
Yeah, I think the package that we're using, this is going with a 3-ounce serving size, Pat. So this would technically serve 4 people, and there's about 70 calories in the tofu itself.
Okay.
So definitely a lot less than, say, chicken or, steak or anything like that. So what we're hoping for is that the tofu starts to brown a little bit. So I'm going to stop moving it because it'll brown faster that way. And then we're going to start adding in our herbs. So it's a pretty fast cooking meal. I would say that the bulk is the chopping and the pre-prep that goes into it. And once you kind of start adding all the ingredients to the pan, it's not too time consuming. And if you make as large a batch as I do, you can eat it for a few days. So I'm going to go ahead and put in our oregano at this point. And then we'll do our cumin. This is one of my favorite herbs. You can obviously adjust all of these to your own particular taste profile. You can also try different things. And then the last thing we're going to put in is our chili powder. Oops.
I'm trying to show it.
Hold on, wait. There we go.
There we go.
Kind of the important triangle of Southwestern herbs right there. We have a little oregano, chili powder, and cumin. Kind of the basis of most of your chilies, most of your Southwest cooking. It also gives it a nice little color, which is kind of fun.
So this really is not a spicy dish, Reed. I'm
sorry?
This really is not a spicy dish.
No, not overly spicy. You could certainly make it spicier. I mean, I have chipotle pepper, so more of a spice person, you could throw some of that in.
Linda's asking how much of each.
There was 2 teaspoons of chili powder.
2 teaspoons chili powder, okay.
2 teaspoons of cumin.
Okay.
And 1 tablespoon of oregano.
Okay.
And Pat, I can add all this up to the list.
Okay, because we don't have the amounts on the list.
Yep, no problem.
So I gave myself little masking tape notes. All right, so now we're gonna add in our black beans. This is kind of a lot, so I may use only about half of it. This was about a 12-ounce can. Well, maybe we'll use it all.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can kind of see how the texture gets to be more like ground beef after it's been frozen. And again, since tofu really is a giant sponge, it's going to do a great job of absorbing all those herbs and seasonings we put in. We'll let that sit for a little bit, and then we'll add in our tomatoes and then let it cook down. Okay, we're ready for tomatoes. Jazz up our color palette again. I'm just going to reduce the heat a little bit. I had picked mine up because the pan wasn't getting very hot.
Okay.
Coming back down to medium high, I would say. And here is where, if you wanted to add greens because you had some spinach lying around, or arugula, or beet greens, or kale, this would be a good time to do it so that it would continue steaming. This is also where you could add a can of corn or a package of frozen corn if you were so inclined. I just didn't have those on hand, so didn't choose to include them. So as some of this liquid kind of disappears from the tomatoes, you kind of see on the bottom, it's getting a little dry again. I'm going to reduce this down to medium. And I'm going to add in, this was the juice of two fresh limes. I'm going to add in about half of it. We can always adjust after if we want to, but we don't want to make it so acidic that it
And Julianne is just asking, how much of the tomatoes did you put in?
that was, trying to think, I think it's a 12-ounce can. Give me one second, I'll make sure. I apologize. It is a 28-ounce can, and I used about half of it. So I used probably 12 to 14 ounces.
Okay.
You can also chop up fresh tomatoes. You could put in cherry tomatoes if you have them, because those are a little bit more tasty at this time of year. You could also put in salsa if that's what you had on hand.
Do you freeze your tofu in the package with
Yes.
or without water?
Yep, I literally bring it home from the store, throw it in the freezer, and then when I take it out, I kind of, you'll notice there's a little ice that forms from the residual water. I just kind of tap it off before I press it. But you could drain it and then freeze it. I just think it's easier to keep it in its own little package and toss it right in there.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to give this probably another minute or so, and then we'll take it off and we'll top it, and you should be good to go.
And what all can you do with this Tex-Mex sauté?
Well, if you are a brunch type person, you could add an egg into this at the end if you wanted to. You could have taco shells ready to go in the oven if you like the crispy ones, or you could do soft and just put this right in it and serve it. It's also really good rolled up in a burrito. I'm a big fan of cheddar cheese, so you could add that too.
Sibel is asking, why do you freeze the tofu?
Because it changes the texture significantly. It gives it more of a texture like ground beef.
Okay.
Which, if you're trying to convince people not to eat meat every day, you want it to at least have the right texture.
You want to trick them.
Exactly. Oh man, you need a better camera. All right, so we're going to take this off the heat. I'm just going to go this way. And you might remember I had told you I prepped both flat leaf parsley and cilantro. We're kind of a cilantro happy family, so we're gonna go for the cilantro. But should we do the flat leaf parsley too?
Just a little.
Just a little. All right. We'll throw a little of that in too, since it's already chopped up. And then we've also got some chopped scallions. You can either add these into the whole dish, or you could obviously serve them on the side and let people put them on themselves. And then the last thing I'm going to throw in is I basically took those 2 limes that I juiced and took the zest off them. So we're just going to throw that over the
Oh,
top.
nice. Very nice.
And that's basically it, guys.
Reed?
Okay, if anybody has any questions after, I'm happy to answer. You can always email Pat and she'll get them to me, and we'll get them
And
taken care of.
we will send you the recipe with all of the amounts tomorrow.
Correct, yep.
Okay. Terrific. Here's from someone, Julianne says, keep tofu recipes coming. Are
Done.
there
Happy
any
to do that.
and-
Ask her, Julianne, do you have an air fryer? It's my latest obsession. I'm doing coconut crusted tofu this week, so I'll write that recipe down and we'll have Pat
Ooh,
send it over to you.
that sounds really good.
Good night, everybody. Hope everything comes out well.
Thank you, Reed.
Enjoy.